You know, one thing that really grinds my gears? That we only have 24 hours in the day. So, how do we maximize time? Well, that's where I've created this expert video series where I'm going to be talking to people outside of marketing that can help us grow a bigger, better biz. Here we go. Patrick, can you tell people a little bit about what you're doing over at GetSwipe.io?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a cost reduction and consulting firm helping businesses to reduce their credit card processing fees and get a better understanding of really their merchant fees, credit card processing fees, and their payment solutions as a whole, and just making sure that they're not overpaying.
That's great. How long have you been doing it?
I've been in the payment industry for 10 plus years now, with GetSwipe for a little over 4.
So, Patrick, people watching, we have a lot of small business owners that are subscribed to the channel, and we have a huge community with bigger, better biz. Some of them probably have questions about accepting credit cards this holiday season. And I wanted to bring you on because I feel like some of them might be missing an opportunity to save quite a bit when it comes to accepting credit cards. Can you talk a little bit about the process that you offer with GetSwipe?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really starts with doing an analysis of your current processing statement. So we typically like to take a look at 2 to 3 recent statements, and we can put together an analysis to see what those potential savings look like. We go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, line item by line item, to see exactly where there may be some sort of overcharging, surcharging, billing errors, really anything that we kind of deem to just be excess payments just for accepting debit and credit cards from your customers.
So let's say that, I have a new brick and mortar store. I just opened a pop-up shop, a kiosk, something like that. I'm accepting credit cards and I start working with you. So I have to send you those statements that you said. Do I have to pay to get started?
It is absolutely not completely free. It is a completely free. Typically, analysis. Two things will one that there are savings to be obtained. There are savings to be obtained. There are areas based on our data, based on our data analytics, and we can find savings for you. Can find savings for you. The other option being that you're actually on competitive. You're actually on competitive pricing right now. There's really no solution utilizing a service like Swipe. You're in a good spot, and you have that. You're in a good spot and you have that peace of mind that you're not over.
So, Patrick, one question that probably a lot of people watching have: how do I know that I'm paying a fair credit card processing rate?
That is a great question, and obviously the main one that we get as well. But we really want to take a look at the total fees that you're paying versus the total amount of sales that you process during that given month. And that's going to give you the overall picture as to what your effective processing rate would be. If you're at around 2% to 2.5%, you're probably in a good spot. Anything above that, there's probably some overcharging occurring. And it's always a good thing to maybe call your processor to see where these overcharges may be occurring. But yeah, definitely you want to take a look at your processing statement and just look at every line item to see if you can find some areas for improvement.
If I'm a business owner and I'm thinking about we're in the holidays, I am stretched thin. I've got family, I've got business, I've got all these things going on 24 hours in a day. And I probably don't have the same attention to detail that you would have looking at a statement. So I could just send you a statement, your team, you could look through and say, hey, here are some areas where we find room for improvement.
Absolutely. So because merchant services is a back-end expense, the statements don't become readily available. Sometimes the processor does email them or emails them physically, but typically those emails are just deleted or the mail is just thrown in the trash. We typically like to, if we're able to take a look at that processing statement, we're able to go through everything line item by line item to showcase what those potential savings may be. And these processors, they don't make it easy for these merchants to understand their statements as well. It's almost like it's in a different language or it's in hieroglyphics, and they do this on purpose. It's their way of hiding fees and adding in unnecessary charges.
So basically you're telling me and I've heard this before, it's unregulated, right? So there's actually kind of some suspicious things going on behind the scenes where they're trying to hide that stuff.
Exactly. It is an unregulated industry, and these processors know that, and they know what they can get away with. They know that they can add in fees or increase fees over time. And that's all in the fine prints. And that's what we typically see these increases happen 2 to 4 times a year.
Okay, here's a big one, Patrick. With the holidays, of course, people are buying gifts, they're buying presents for people, they're kind of going out in bursts and just buying a whole bunch of stuff. But then there's going to be those returns and refunds. How does that affect my merchant fees?
So there are a lot of processors out there that are charging for both the transaction of the sale as well as the refund. So you're getting double charged. It's very important to understand that with your processor to see exactly what they're charging and to see if they can be adjusted.
Okay. And in that case, too, I could work with you right now at GetSwipe.io, or after the fact, let's say in January, as I start to see those returns come in, I could still come to you and you could help me potentially work kind of retroactively.
Yes, of course, it's hard to predict whether those returns and refunds are going to occur until after the season. But again, we would be able to take a look to see how much those charges were on those return fees, and then contact the processor on behalf of the merchant to see what can be done, and obtain refunds as well.
Okay, Patrick. So I just walked into a local gas station. I'm here in, kind of rural suburban New Hampshire, and they had a little sign out that said, "Hey, we have a cash discount." I've been seeing that quite often. It's become more common, more popular. Should retailers be offering a cash discount or passing the merchant fees on to the customer if they use a credit card?
Yeah, Brian. The cash discount surcharging programs definitely becoming more popular in the payment industry for merchants, especially in a retail setting. It's a very gray area. It's not completely legal in all 50 states. Again, there's a lot of litigation going around right now. Should be something businesses can or cannot do. But what we've typically seen when businesses do switch this cash discounting program, or some type of surcharging, customers are seeing an extra line item on their just for the convenience of using their debit or credit card. Obviously, no one's going to be happy about that. So they'll typically make a complaint, Yelp review, and so it's always my suggestion to offer this type of program. It's a cost of doing business as we see it. We see a lot of retailers. Sometimes adjust their pricing around their products to adjust for the merchant. But when you're adding another line item to customers' receipt, they're typically not going to be happy. And unfortunately, they may just go to your.
So I got a question for you too. Whenever we've ever talked to one of our clients, because we're looking, again, we're trying to build a bigger, better biz, and that encompasses the marketing, and encompasses the logistics and the operations, and of course the financials. So when we're dealing with some of our legacy clients, we're looking at how can we help you save money? When we've broached the subject of merchant fees or credit card processing, I know a lot of people kind of catwalk away, right? They're like, "Nah." But I think part of it is they feel like they have to change banks or they have to get new hardware. If they work with GetSwipe.io, do they have to do that?
Absolutely not. Nope. Then that's the bread and butter of GetSwipe is that you don't have to change anything on your end. So the equipment, the processor, any software you may be using, that all stays the absolute same. The only thing that essentially changes is the fees you're going to be paying to your processor, which will be less because of our efforts.
And Patrick, could you list out maybe some of your top merchant processing companies that you've worked with that you've seen success?
Absolutely. I would say right now is Global Payments. They're one of the bigger players in the retail industry. Cayenne, TSYS, OpenEdge, Bank of America is also a big player. So typically we see merchants that they go right to their bank and they think, oh, they're my bank, I must be getting a great deal. But typically, sometimes they're the worst in terms of their overcharging.
And there you have it, a quick, easy to watch, and even easier to digest expert tip that's going to help you grow your bigger, better biz. Until next time, I'm Bryan Caplan with the Bigger, Better Biz community. Here's to your success.